Hello everyone, this is Ravinder Dundra and welcome to my channel. In this class, we will discuss about this third chapter of the class 6 geography, that is motions of this earth. What do you mean by this motion or motions? Motions means an act of changing place or movement of an object from one place to other place. So this we can call it as this motion. Then what are these motions of the earth, whether earth is moving or whether it is stationary? Once upon a time, that means during the ancient time, during the olden days, what people used to think is that the earth is not at all moving, it is like in a stationary point, it is like a constant point. Only the sun, moon, all these things are revolving around the earth. So therefore people used to think that the earth is like a stationary object. But for the first time in the 16th century, a Polish astronomer, his name is this Nicholas Copernicus, what he has told is that the earth is not at all stationary, the earth is like a moving object. And what he has also said is that it only appears to be stationary. See, that means those people, that means we all are living on this earth and it looks that it is not at all moving. So therefore what he told is that it only appears to be stationary, but it is actually moving, it is actually on the motion. And what he also told is that actually it has two different types of movements. Our earth, it has mainly two different types of motions. What are these two different types? One is rotation, the second one is this revolution. What is this rotation? What is this revolution? Rotation means movement of the earth on its own axis. That means the earth will be moving on its own axis on this fixed what is that? The earth will be movement of the earth on its own axis. Like this, if you see the axis, it is an imaginary line where the earth will be moving on its own axis. Then next one is that revolution. What do you mean by this revolution? Is that movement of the earth around the sun. Earth, it is not only revolving rotating on its own axis, but it is also revolving around the sun. So this movement of the earth around the sun, we call it as this something known as this revolution. And what is that? Rotation of the earth. First we will discuss about this rotation of the earth. Then the earth rotates from west to east direction on its own axis. As you all know that our earth, it is rotating from west to eastern direction. This is the reason why the sun rises in the eastern direction. As you all know that sun rises in this eastern direction. Why it is rising in the eastern part is that because the earth is moving from western to eastern direction. This is the reason. And the axis is inclined at 66.5 degrees. That means if you see axis, an imaginary needle or an imaginary line, it is actually inclined. That means it is bending at an angle of 66.5 degrees. That means if you actually divide the earth into equally into this total comes around 66.5 degrees. But our earth, it is inclined, that means it is bending somewhat like this. If you want to get the clear picture, just have a look at the globe, how the globe looks like. It is something like it is bending or it is inclining. And at what angle it is inclined is that it is inclining at an angle of 66.5 degrees. And the earth takes 24 hours to complete one revolution on its own axis. That means to rotate on its own axis, the earth takes exactly this 24 hours to complete one revolution, to complete one rotation. And this is also known as the daily motion of the earth. Why it is known as this daily motion of the earth is that because it is a continuous process. The earth is continuously moving from west to eastern direction and it takes exactly 24 hours. That is the reason we call it as this daily motion of the earth. And the circumference of the earth at the equator is 40,000 kilometers. The area, now the circumference of the earth at the equator is around 40,000 kilometers, where this 40,000 kilometer circumference is also covered within 24 hours by the earth. So now next what we will discuss is that what are the effects of this rotation of the earth. As we have seen that it is rotating on its own axis from west to eastern direction at an inclined angle of 66.5 degrees. Now what are the effects of the rotation of the earth? Are there any effects? Let us see about these effects of this rotation of the earth. Let us discuss about what are the effects of this earth's rotation. As of now we have discussed that earth will be rotating as well as revolving. Now first we will see what are the effects of this earth's rotation. What happens if the earth is rotating? So the first one is that it causes day and night. That means just imagine if the earth stopped rotating on its own axis, that means what happens is that one part of the earth will continuously experience day and other part of the earth will continuously experience this night time. And because of this, what happens is that day part will the temperatures will be more and more on the day part, and the temperatures will become very very cold in the night part. Therefore, because of this earth's rotation, we experience this day as well as night. So that is one of the first very benefit of this rotation of the earth. Then the next one is that we feel that the heavenly objects such as sun, moon move from east to west. That means when people used to think that earth is stationary, what we feel is that earth is like a stationary object. What we feel is that the sun is moving from east to west, or the moon is moving from east to west. So we used to feel, by standing on the earth, by living on this earth, what we feel is that these objects are moving, but in reality they are not moving. But the thing is that the earth is only moving from west to eastern direction. Then it gives a day of 24 hours. That means because of this movement of the earth only, we can say that the earth is taking 24 hours to complete one single day. Then the last one is that it causes tides twice in a day. What are these tides? As you all know, tides occur 2 times in a day, high tide as well as low tide on these oceans. So these tides, why they are occurring is that it is also because of this rotation of this earth. So these are some of the benefits, or these are some of the effects of this rotation of the earth. What are these? Mainly thing is that causes day and night, and we feel that the sun is moving from east to west, as well as it gives a day of 24 hours, and it also helps in causing the tides 2 times in a day. Then the next one is that the circle of illumination. What do you mean by this circle of illumination? Circle of illumination means an imaginary line which separates the earth into day and night. That means if you see, circle of illumination means it is just an imaginary line which divides the earth into 2 equal parts, and one part of the earth which is facing the sun, it experiences the day, and the other part, the other half, it experiences night time. So this circle of illumination is just an imaginary line which is exactly which exactly divides the earth into 2 equal parts. As if you can see, this line is this the circle of illumination which is dividing the earth into 2 equal parts, and this line is the axis which the earth is inclined at an angle of 66.5 degrees, as of which I have already explained. So this circle of illumination, it divides the earth into 2 parts, day part as well as night part. But one more important thing is that this length of day and night is not same everywhere. For example, in this northern hemisphere, as you all know, this is the equator. Above this equator, we can call it as this what is that, northern hemisphere, and below this we call it as this southern hemisphere. So the length of the day as well as night is not same everywhere on this earth. Why? Because for 6 months this northern hemisphere, that means northern hemisphere means this region which is, so this region, most of this northern hemisphere, it is facing towards the sun for almost 6 months. And after 6 months, when the earth completes one revolution on the other side, when it is coming on the other side, this southern hemisphere will face the sun directly. But when the northern hemisphere facing the sun directly for 6 months, what here happens is that here the northern hemisphere, it experiences longer days as well as shorter nights. That means the length of the day will be very longer and the length of the night will be very shorter in northern hemisphere for 6 months. And during these 6 months, the other half, the southern part or southern hemisphere, it will have the reverse condition. That means since it is not facing much part of the sun, it is receiving lesser sun rays. What happens is that in the southern hemisphere, the days will be shorter in the southern hemisphere and the nights will be longer in the southern hemisphere. So when the days are longer, the nights are shorter, it will be quite opposite in the other hemisphere. For example, in the northern hemisphere for 6 months there will be longer days as well as shorter nights, and during this same time exactly in the southern hemisphere the conditions will be different. How it is different is that here the days will be shorter and the nights will be longer, but at a one particular place on this earth, here the length of the day as well as the length of the night is equal or same. That is 12 hours. The length of the day as well as the length of the night is same or 12 hours in one particular place of the earth, that is at this equator. Why? Because this equatorial region, it is directly facing the sun without any inclination, without any bending, because this entire region, wherever the earth is revolving, here or here or here or wherever it goes, the middle part, the equatorial region directly faces the sun. Because of that, here the length of the day as well as the length of the night will be same, that is about this 12 hours of each. So day will be 12 hours, night will be 12 hours. So with this we have completed about this rotation. Next, in the next lecture we will discuss about this revolution of this earth and what are these effects of this revolution of the earth. Thank you.